Voyage to the Moon. A Saturn V rocket launched Apollo 11 from Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center on July 16, 1969, at 13 hours 32 minutes and 0 seconds Coordinated Universal Time. Armstrong's wife Janet and 2 sons watched from a yacht moored on the Banana River. During the launch, Armstrong's heart rate peaked at 110 beats per minute. He found the first stage the loudest, much noisier than the Gemini 8 Titan II launch. The Apollo command module was relatively roomy compared with the Gemini spacecraft. None of the Apollo 11 crew suffered space sickness, as some members of previous crews had. Armstrong was especially glad about this, as he had been prone to motion sickness as a child and could experience nausea after long periods of aerobatics. Apollo 11's objective was to land safely on the Moon, rather than to touch down at a precise location. 3 minutes into the lunar descent, Armstrong noted that craters were passing about 2 seconds too early, which meant the lunar module Eagle would probably touch down several kilometers beyond the planned landing zone. As the Eagle's landing radar acquired the surface, several computer error alarms sounded. The first was a code 1202 alarm, and even with their extensive training, neither Armstrong nor Aldrin knew what this code meant. They promptly received word from Capcom Charles Duke in Houston that the alarms were not a concern. The 1202 and 1201 alarms were caused by executive overflows in the Lunar Module Guidance Computer. In 2007, Aldrin said the overflows were caused by his own counter-checklist choice of leaving the docking radar on during the landing process, causing the computer to process unnecessary radar data. When it did not have enough time to execute all tasks, the computer dropped the lower priority ones, triggering the alarms. Aldrin said he decided to leave the radar on in case an abort was necessary when redocking with the Apollo command module. He did not realize it would cause the processing overflows. When Armstrong noticed they were heading toward a landing area that seemed unsafe, he took manual control of the LM and attempted to find a safer area. This took longer than expected, and longer than most simulations had taken. For this reason, Mission Control was concerned that the LM was running low on fuel. On landing, Aldrin and Armstrong believed they had 40 seconds of fuel left, including the 20 seconds worth which had to be saved in the event of an abort. During training, Armstrong had, on several occasions, landed with fewer than 15 seconds of fuel. He was also confident the LM could survive a fall of up to 50 feet, 15 meters. Post-mission analysis showed that at touchdown there were 45 to 50 seconds of propellant burn time left. The landing on the surface of the Moon occurred several seconds after 20 hours 17 minutes and 40 seconds Coordinated Universal Time on July 20, 1969. One of 3 67-inch (170 centimeters) probes attached to 3 of the LM's 4 legs made contact with the surface, a panel light in the LM illuminated, and Aldrin called out, "Contact light." Armstrong shut the engine off and said, "Shut down." As the LM settled onto the surface, Aldrin said, "Okay, engine stop." Then they both called out some post-landing checklist items. After a 10-second pause, Duke acknowledged the landing with, "We copy you down, Eagle." Armstrong confirmed the landing to Mission Control and the world with the words, "Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed." Aldrin and Armstrong celebrated with a brisk handshake and pat on the back. They then returned to the checklist of contingency tasks, should an emergency liftoff become necessary. After Armstrong confirmed touchdown, Duke re-acknowledged, adding a comment about the flight crew's relief, "Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot." During the landing, Armstrong's heart rate ranged from 100 to 150 beats per minute. The flight plan called for a crew rest period before leaving the module, but Armstrong asked for this to be moved to earlier in the evening, Houston time. When he and Aldrin were ready to go outside, Eagle was depressurized, the hatch was opened, and Armstrong made his way down the ladder. At the bottom of the ladder, while standing on a lunar module landing pad, Armstrong said, "I'm going to step off the LM now." He turned and set his left boot on the lunar surface at 2:56 Coordinated Universal Time July 21, 1969, then said, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind."